Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. If I see head nods from folks or, yep, thumbs up, thumbs up. Awesome. So welcome. We are glad you are here with us today. We are excited to talk about and discuss mentoring with all of you. We are hoping to have a very interactive session, and hopefully as a byproduct of the session, we'll have the opportunity to be able to learn new things, new approaches, and think differently about approaching mentoring. So with that said, I am going to dive in here with our first slide, our second slide. Thank you. So we just like to lay a little bit of groundwork for our conversation today. Mentorship is an individualized journey, and I think probably everybody thinks about it in that sense. It is context dependent on the individual and where you might be in your giving career at any point in time. And just as we're seeing in the introductions, all of you are probably at various points and places, given where you are and why you might be thinking about this session today. Each participant today may be thinking from perspectives that are very different. From how do I share my expertise and experiences? So maybe somebody willing to share with others, and how do I do that effectively? And where are those channels for me to do that? To where do I find resources to grow as a professional? So this might be someone looking for opportunities to grow or resources or channels to be able to figure out, like, how do I look internally to my institution or industry, my area by which I work, or should I look externally? Should I look for professional organizations? And so as we continue our journey today, be sure to think about the lens that you're engaging in with us today. And it might be helpful to even express that up front when asking questions or having conversations, because our conversations are planned to be wide and inclusive with many topics and angles as it relates to mentoring, but providing this context is going to help us with lenses by which our participants are thinking about mentoring today. So just kind of keep that in mind. And those were just some things that we wanted to start out of the gate today with all of you. So much like all of you taking time in the chat and saying hello and introducing yourselves, we really appreciate that. And if you've just joined us, please do take a minute to say hello and introduce yourself. We'd like to introduce ourselves and why we're here with you today. So first off, I'm Angie Dick. I'm a manager of learning design within teaching and learning with technology at Penn State University. I have been here at Penn State for 13 years and have Penn State has a really large instructional design and learning design community that is geographically dispersed across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and beyond. My experience prior to coming to Penn State and higher education has been in K-12 as well as corporate. And so whenever I approach mentoring, I definitely bring various lenses from those experiences to thinking about mentoring and how to best approach it. I will turn it over to Holly.
Thanks, Angie. My name is Holly Fiock, and I am a newly minted senior instructional design manager at Purdue University, so another Big Ten conference school with Angie. And I've been at Purdue a little bit over 12 years, I believe now. And I've kind of been in a similar role where similar position where I've had a lot of different experiences that have shaped who I am today and shaped the lens in which I look at mentoring. And so I've been a program manager. I've been in our admissions office. I've been at Purdue both as a student and as a faculty member, as a instructional designer, and now as a manager. And so I kind of wear a bunch of different hats. Most recently, I was awarded the UPSIA's 2023 Outstanding Service and Post-Secondary Instructional Design Award. And so that's something that I've been really proud of and like to leverage some of my ID experiences when mentoring others. And I'm going to turn it over to Christy.
Thanks, Holly. Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Jersin Woods, and I am an instructional design manager at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. I really appreciated Holly's introduction about what it's like to wear many hats at a university or college. I have done the same thing. I started in student affairs and focused student counseling and student advising, and then moved over into instructional design. I am relatively new to Colorado State as of November of last year, but have worked at Arizona State and Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design before this. I'm also a co-host of a podcast that I started as a mentoring experience with one of my really great friends and colleagues, Dr. Jess Zeitler, called the Higher ID Podcast, and have had the privilege of having many mentors in my life, both in instructional design and just in leadership and what it means to be a woman in leadership. And then am now continuing my journey as a mentor and getting to give back as well. So it's very exciting stuff.
Well, thank you so very much. Super excited to have my colleagues with me today, and thank you for introducing yourselves. So why are we all together? That might be a question that you all have. It is because of this common interest around mentorship. And all three of us serve as advisory committee members for ID to ID peer mentoring program. That is a partnership between ELI and our Educause Learning Initiative, ELI, and Penn State University. So now we would love to know who you are. We have a short poll. So beyond names and titles and maybe locations, we would love for you to engage with us in Slido to have an understanding of how you identify with where you are in your career. So who are you? Identify which of these best describes your current experience. And just by looking at the chat, we see that there is a really diverse amount of experience already with all of you that have come into here. So we'll give you a minute to join slido.com and using the number that's Holly provided in the chat or you see on the slide. And you could also use a QR code to help you to navigate to Slido. All right. Awesome. It looks like we are probably hitting max here. And as you can see, we have a pretty broad range of experiences coming into this conversation. And again, just kind of revisiting the fact that we all are in different aspects of our career.
Sorry, I'm just like.
Thank you for that. And thank you for muting. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk a little bit about what does it mean and from the perspective of where you might be coming from. So as of today and, in good practice, what are our learning outcomes? We're hoping that we'll be able to identify mentoring strategies and techniques for instructional design environments. We'll also be able to recognize and conceptualize mentoring practices from your own perspective and context. And then we'll also be able to reflect on the benefits of mentoring practices in instructional design from both a mentee and mentor perspective. So with that said, I am going to hand the baton over to my colleague who is going to talk a little bit about our agenda today and how we're going to accomplish those learning outcomes.
Yes, thank you so much, Angie. So today is a really interactive session. We are going to be utilizing Padlet and some small breakout rooms to take a moment to reflect on some of these bigger questions around mentorship and how you might engage in it both as a mentee and as a mentor. Holly just put in the link to the Padlet in the chat. And what we'll do first is have an opportunity for reflection on your own and adding into the Padlet a few different questions. And we can actually go to the first question. And then what we'll do, actually, I should set this up. This is a better way to do it. We'll do the reflection of each of the questions in the Padlet. There's a column for each of these questions that go from left to right in the Padlet. Thanks, Holly. And you'll have a moment to enter in some thoughts after you've reflected in there. And then once everyone's had a chance to kind of add some thoughts within the Padlet, we'll do a small breakout room so that folks can kind of look at what was most interesting, compelling, and then we'll get a chance to share those out. So we have plenty of time to do that now. So the first question is defining mentorship. What does it mean to be a mentor and what does it mean to be a mentee? Go ahead and take some time, jot down your thoughts, and then when you're ready, add to the Padlet. You just can add a plus on the top of the Padlet. There's a plus column or button, I should say, that you can utilize to add text. Feel free to add in links, images, and such. And I will be quiet. Say just have one more minute to answer this question. If you haven't already, you can reply to the comment in the column of defining mentorship or add your own text to that for that first question. We'll have time to also reflect on the other questions on the Padlet as well. So if you're already doing that, great. Just give me one more minute. All right, make sure you jot down your thoughts in the Padlet if possible, and then we'll go ahead and go to next question. And Holly mentioned in the chat, and this is great, these answers will help to guide the conversation later. So please continue to add on into the Padlet. So question 2 is about finding mentorship. That is the second column on the Padlet, second column from the left. So where do you find mentorship and how have you created these relationships in the past? Again, we'll take some time to answer this question. Go ahead and add to the Padlet in that column whenever you are ready. We'll have just a couple of minutes to do that. I'll take maybe just one more minute to gather your thoughts. Feel free to add onto the Padlet when you have a chance. About where you find mentorship, where you have found that and how you created these. Okay, great. We'll go to the next Padlet question. This is the third column from the right on the Padlet about qualities of mentorship. So what are the qualities or behaviors of a good mentor? What does this person do that sets them apart? And lots of great answers are already happening in the Padlet. I'll give y'all a chance to reflect there. All right, just one more minute to gather your thoughts and share about qualities of mentorship, and then we'll move on to another question. Okay, let's go on to our final Padlet question. This is the fourth column from the left or the second from the right, the benefits of mentorship. This is a two-part question. If you can answer both, that would be super helpful. How do you benefit from mentorship as a mentee? And also, how do you benefit from mentorship as a mentor? As a mentee, how do you benefit? As a mentor, how do you benefit? Feel free to add to the Padlet any thoughts. We'll give you a few minutes to do that. I'll give you all just one more minute to finish up your thoughts about how you benefit from mentorship, both as a mentee and a mentor. Okay, great. Lots of good thoughts on here. Now we will move into small groups. So we are going to, Holly, are we just doing 2 breakout rooms?
Yes, I apologize. My PowerPoint didn't update.
That's okay, no worries. So we're going to do 2 breakout rooms that will allow you to kind of collaborate, share your thoughts on what you're seeing on these questions. If you could identify a group leader to either jot some notes down of what is most surprising, compelling, or interesting to you, that person from that group can then share out final thoughts at the bottom of the Padlet post. So if you want to use the Padlet as a place to take notes, that would be super great. And then we'll come back as a larger group and share those kind of final thoughts. And we've also got some additional resources and some ways to work through some challenges or barriers to mentorship that Angie and Holly will chat a little bit more about as well. So let's see, how much time do we want to do for the breakout rooms? Holly, Angie?
How about 6 minutes?
Cool, sounds great. So 2 small groups, identify a leader. You have 6 minutes to discuss what was most surprising, compelling, interesting. Feel free to add final thoughts. And then we will come back as a large group and chat over those final thoughts that you all identified.
Sorry, that kind of threw me off. Anyway, next I wanted to open it up if any of the team leaders of the small groups wanted to unmic and quickly share kind of the themes and topics that you guys were talking about in your small group. And so group one, if anyone would like to unmic or to talk about what you guys talked about, that would be great. If not, I can just read off the Padlet here.
I think we did a bad job. At least I'll take ownership of that. I was in that group. We did not select a leader. So I will be the person, I will share if that's okay with my colleagues that were in the group with me. We got very focused in just diving in. Is that okay with everyone? I'll start and then I will encourage others to join me. So we talked about, the first thing we talked about was the mutual benefit of both the mentors and the mentees, and the idea that both glean and help shape the experience, but also more importantly, benefit from the experience, that it just isn't one directional. The second thing that we talked about was finding mentorship and where to look. There was lots of great examples in the Padlet of different places on where to look for mentorship. The third area was around mutual growth that we talked a lot about was, and that kind of goes back up to that mutual benefit, mutual relationship, and mutual growth. And then being able to find those opportunities as well as provide those opportunities. And so I will stop there. Though the last thing we talked about was listening skills. So those listening skills was something that we've seen as a big theme that came out from a mentoring side of things.
Thank you, Angie, for sharing that. I was trying to keep up in the chat. So if you see random notes that say listening skills or mutual growth, that was me trying to kind of highlight some of the themes and the big ticket items that I heard you hear. From group one, would anyone else like to echo or add on to what Angie started for you guys?
No, I mean, I think she caught most of it. It really did, just the mutual benefit, as you typed in there. I kind of put it out in there that you hear so much like, oh, I'm going to get back to my mentee's going to get this, but a lot of those big comments in there but the mentor walks away with a lot of knowledge and growth as well.
And I know, at least for me, and I'm just talking from one person's point of view, but sometimes for me, that growth isn't always something that's measurable, right? It's just a little thing within you that you feel different, or how you address your peers, or in how you handle certain situations. And so some of those things aren't necessarily like tangible or tied to an outcome or something that you can demonstrate through documentation, but it's just a feeling. And so sometimes that's hard to measure. And I think that's one of the things that you guys were talking about, or at least what I heard was the mutual benefit and the listening skills, some of those things that are sometimes really hard to get formal training on, right? And so great thoughts. Before we head over to group two, anyone else from group one? And as always,
I will also share, we talked a bit about reflection, because if you're going through a mentoring opportunity, you really need to pull yourself away from like the day-to-day task-driven aspect of our positions, right? And have dedicated reflection time. And so that reflection time is the time where you are, seeing where you are and where you want to go, and what types of strategies that you and your mentor might be talking about to be able to get to that point, right? And so I think reflection is a huge part of growth and can be a huge part of the mentor-mentee experience.
Awesome. All right, Christy, I'm going to open it up for group 2. If anyone, did you guys have a leader, or are you? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Helga was our leader.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody. I just had this thought that while working on this task and through defining mentorship, I was getting confused of which kind of heading to put these definitions in, because they all also, the definitions reflected so much about like how you find it, what the qualities are and the benefits of a mentorship. So for defining, I ended up, somebody entered our room late. I think it was Tracy, and she just had a really great comment about her relationships with her mentors. And she said that she is always helping her mentees identify passions and use those passions to push forward and push themselves and grow. And I thought that was a pretty good kind of summary of what a good mentorship looks like. In finding mentorship, we had a great question about what are the differences between formal and informal mentorship, because we were kind of half and half, where like Christy had done a lot of formal mentorships, and then all of my mentorships have been informal. So like, where do we look for mentorships, both informally and formally, and then find opportunities and provide opportunities for people? I know that for me, finding a mentorship informally has been more through just like professional networks, and just happen to meet somebody that you really connect with, and they see something in you as a mentee or vice versa, and you want to help each other and work with each other. So they just start from there. Qualities of mentorship, we were saying that really good listening skills is a great quality for mentorship. Somebody who pushes you to try new things and give you opportunities. And then, you know, Christy wrote down in our notes here too, that the importance of reflection. And I think that's really huge, because I think that's something that took me from the day-to-day up into a more leadership or mentorship mindset, is that ability to pull away and think bigger picture and reflect. And the benefits of mentorship, as a mentor, one benefit is just giving back, because you benefited so much from having a mentor. So it feels good to turn around then and give that back to somebody else and pass that on. And supporting others the way that you were supported. And then benefits that go both ways for mentors and mentees is just learning from others' experiences.
I'm so happy to hear that there's some great thoughts and some great conversations that were happening in those small groups. And so as we look at the conversations that we've had and the conversations we really hope that you guys continue on after this, a few things that we wanted to highlight that we didn't want to really focus too much time on, but just want to kind of address. And so a couple things are those mentorship challenges, right? And so we've kind of heard a little bit about timing and reflection and finding the time for that. And so one of the best pieces of advice that I've had is that you put into mentorship what you want, or you get out of mentorship what you put in, right? So you need to really prioritize and find the time and establish what it means to you, and having those conversations early and honestly in those initial conversations with your mentor or your mentees. And right. And so once you have that time, respecting it and honoring it for what it is, it's your professional growth, right? That time is for you to develop and grow. And that's something that you should be really taking seriously as you move forward. And so those are a couple of the challenges that I know that we've kind of talked about. Secondly, I think Helga, you did a great job of kind of talking about it, but those informal versus formal opportunities. And so in our Padlet, we've listed out a few resources of places where we've found mentorship. or where you might find formal mentorship as well. And just want to quickly leave you with a quote about mentorship. And I'm just going to read directly from this because it's such a true and powerful statement. And the truth is that effective mentoring takes effort, and it's creating successful mentoring relationships that require specific skills, sensibilities, and structure from both the mentor and the mentee. So kind of that reciprocal relationship. And that success happens when both parties take responsibility for making it work. So that kind of ties into the challenges, right? The time, honoring it. It's a relationship. You put in or you get out what you put in. And then lastly, join us. So Angie, Christy, and I talked about earlier our role in the ID to ID group, how we all come together and how mentoring is important to us. And if it's something that's important to you, we would invite you to come and join us. Take a look at our website, see if this group would be something that you're interested in. You have different levels that if you want to, maybe you want to kind of lurk in the background for a little bit and get a feel if this community is good for you. We have a Slack group where you can dip your toes in, and then if that's something that excites you, you can then level up and then become a buddy or a mentor and mentee in our group. And so we're so excited to extend that out to you guys and offer it out if this is something that is of interest to you. And lastly, as we close up here, I just want to open the floor to Christy and Angie if they have anything that they wanted to add that maybe I missed before we wrap up here.
No, you did a great job. Thank you so much, Holly. And just to reemphasize, ID to ID is not necessarily a commitment to a mentorship program. If you want to continue this conversation and connect with others around the world, it's really a great international experience to learn and grow together. Christy?
No, I think that's great. I just want to open up to any questions that you all have for us.
And if this forum isn't the best place for you to ask questions, we have our emails here. So feel free to reach out to us via email. And then lastly, as Jessica put in the chat, if you want to nominate this session for an award, there's a link to do so. Otherwise, we are so happy that you guys engaged in the conversation with us today. We hope you got something out of it. We know we'll be taking away our thoughts. And as always, the Padlet will stay open for you guys so you can continue to reflect and learn from your peers from this session. So again, thank you so much for attending.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for
everyone.
joining us.
Thank you.